Hey everybody, this is BlackHawkSC and welcome back to my channel. I'm sure you all agree that we've been seeing more and more NASCARing in MWO lately. If you're relatively new to this game and you have not yet seen what NASCAR is, check out my top 10 terms for MWO newbies video, which I will link in the description. However, most people will have had personal experience with it, and I know some of you out there hate NASCAR with a passion. Without good communications and strong discipline, which is not found in the solo queue, NASCAR is an inevitable part of the game, so unless you can solve both of these problems, you're going to have to deal with NASCARing in not all, but a significant part of your games. Light mechs and light mech wannabes like the Shadowcat have a lot of options around the battlefield, so we won't focus on them in this video. The rest of the mechs on the battlefield can deal with NASCAR in two different ways. The first method is to fight the NASCAR. The way that should be familiar to most of you out there is to ask your team to stop NASCARing and form a firing position on the left. Whoever has tried this will acknowledge that the results are going to be inconsistent. Some people will leave their position, and if you happen to be the last couple of guys there, then you face an early termination of your game. A less team-dependent way of fighting the NASCAR is by positioning yourself with a mid-range or long-range mech across the direction of their rotation. There are several important considerations. First is that you have to have substantial firepower at that range to be able to stop multiple enemy mechs from rotating. Otherwise, they can absorb your incoming damage and continue to rotate against your team. I found that high impulse weapons like PPC or Gauss has an added psychological effect. So a mech like the Marauder 2CD that I featured in my sniper video and the Warhammer 2C Mole Gauss AR PPC build will work quite well. I'll link the two videos featuring those builds in the description. Secondly, you should have some kind of barrier between yourself and the enemy such that you're not easily pushed on. For example, the canyon between the 4 and 5 lines on Canyon Network is useful for slowing down anyone trying to push you, and gives you time to reposition if necessary. Finally, because you're vulnerable to flanking lights that can out DPS you at close range, it's recommended that you have at least one other player come with you. As you can see, both methods face numerous challenges, so if you decide to fight the NASCAR, be prepared to deal with the consequences. The other way to deal with the NASCAR is to out-NASCAR the enemy. It's funny to me that whenever a player on the losing team blames NASCAR for their loss, they don't realize that the other team probably won by doing the same thing, only that they NASCAR'd better. For this to work, you need a mech that's fast enough to keep up with the rotation, and has enough damage output to take out stragglers, has a right stack build, and very importantly, has the ability to trade shots with an assault mech that might have stopped to face the NASCAR. There are a few mechs in the game that can meet all the above criteria, but let me suggest the Quickdraw 4G, because I think the triple large pulse build really encapsulates everything I want for this role. For those who have been playing for a while, you might have forgotten that the 4G even existed. The last time the Quickdraw 4G was widely considered strong was back in 2015 when it got mega quirked for range, agility, and laser duration. Before 2015, the chassis was so bad that it got nicknamed the Quick Die, which was the reason why it got hefty quirks in the first place. In 2016, the 4G lost its range and laser duration quirks and got better cooldown and agility quirks to sort of compensate. But since the game was more pokey and less DPS oriented at that time, the Quickdraw lost its ability to trade well at range and was thus ignored to this day. But with the DHS upgrades in late 2018, the meta has now shifted towards DPS, the exact thing that the 4G was quirked for 2 years ago. It has mobility that surpasses most medium mechs. If you look at its right side weapon placements, the slope of its hardpoints match that of common NASCAR maps like the ramp on the second level of HPG, the center hill of Canyon Network, and the slopes of the F7 G7 hill on Grim Plexus. This allows it to get free damage off of mechs that need a lot of clearance to return fire. Furthermore, the 400 meter range with the range skills on the IS LPLs are just long enough to reach across those common points of rotation, whereas a weapon like the Clan NPL has a quick damage drop-off beyond its optimal range. Although a 30-point alpha isn't impressive, its 20% energy cooldown quirk and the upgraded DHSs together give it an incredible sustained DPS, which allows it to repeatedly punish those mechs that are at the back of the line. In my version of the Quickdraw 4G, I'm using an Excel engine. The LFE with the Light Pharaoh is a viable option as well, but it actually doesn't buy you much, and I'll explain why. First, the Quickdraw has a rather wide frontal profile, which means that its CT is easy to hit. This was the reason why it got the Quick Die name in the first place. Most deaths will come from CT if you play this mech correctly. Second, the LFE only protects you from an LT destruction while sacrificing speed and 2 DHS's worth of cooling. If you lose either the right torso or center torso, then your game is over anyways. even if you're on a standard engine. It's only necessary to avoid the left torso destruction at the beginning to the middle of the match. If you survived to the end of the match and died to a left torso destruction, you would have likely have done more damage due to the benefits of the XL anyways, so the trade-off is still worth it. However, if you find yourself dying early to XL checks, either tone down your aggression or fall back to the LFE. For our skill tree, we're going to max out heat gen and get most of laser duration, max out durability and cool run, while putting one node into agility. Okay, let's see the quick draw in action. In this match, we're on Polar Highlands. Normally people don't think of Polar Highlands as a NASCAR map, but some serious NASCARing can happen on this map around one of these hills. So you can see right now my position is a little bit further away from my team. Normally this would be pretty risky, but number one, I do have the speed to get back to my team if I needed to. And second of all, I do know the position of the enemy blob right now. They're at the I-7, I-8 area. And so what I'm trying to do is to get to the rear of the enemy NASCAR and start shooting them that way. One thing that you have to be aware of in Polar Highlands is that depending on your graphics settings, some hills can appear and disappear depending on the distance. When you see a mech, they might actually be behind a hill according to the server. So you do have to be careful of that, just like the hill may not be rendering at that point. So you can see we're able to take multiple peeks at that Marauder too. That Marauder has to deal with multiple targets, so it can't twist fast enough to react to. Once it's taken like a shot, then it's kind of stuck in that torso position and it can't twist to shoot back at me very quickly. So sometimes I can get free shots because by the time they twist back to shoot back at me, the quick draw's acceleration, deceleration values are so high that it's gotten back to cover before the return shot is taken. And by the time they can shoot again, because of that quick draw's really fast energy cooldown, I might have been able to take multiple shots at them. You can see the NASCAR is in full force right now. So even though our optimal range is 400, we need to get closer. So the blood asp over here is normally pretty dangerous, but you can see we're taking minimal return fire from the blood asp because, again, it's slow to torso twist. It can't react to my peaks all that quickly, and it's turning left, turning right, shooting at multiple targets. It can't for it to, when it sees me and it comes back and twists back in my direction, it takes a while for it to do so. So it's not able to get that much damage out on me when I take my peaks. See this archer here, even though like the Atlas is a bigger target to shoot at, I'm going to try to focus down that Tempest as much as possible. This is because you want to focus down an enemy as much as you can instead of spreading damage across multiple enemies. So if you start shooting an enemy, unless you know there's a better target to shoot at, just focus that down. For example here, the better target to shoot at is this Marauder that's pushing our team, even though the Tempest is almost dead. That focus fire is really important, so you can switch targets if you realize your friendlies are shooting at something else. I know some of you guys out there mentioned in one of my earlier videos that the Christmas bell war horns were really loud. I realized that, but I like it, so I'm keeping it. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so enjoy the war horns. By the way, so on colder maps like this, the 2 LPLs on the top is fairly heat neutral, close to heat neutral at least, so you can use that when you're hot. So there's one AFK remaining, and we just had to go kill him and end the match. Okay, in our second match, we're on HPG. And HPG is well known for being a NASCAR map. Usually one team NASCARs and the other team, if they decide to play it the smart way, will stay up top and shoot down at the bottom. But the reason why I decided to show this game is to show how well the Quickdraw 4G can trade using that the sloped hard points on the right side. So as you see here, the Mad Cat Mark II has a lot more firepower than I do, but I'm able to trade against that mech pretty favorably. I'm taking a lot less damage than he is putting out onto me because of that. The slope of my weapon hardpoints match that of the ramp on the HPG as I mentioned before, so you can just minimally peek out and just keep on putting out those 3 large pulse lasers, 30 points of damage at a time. And I'm not even peeking all that well right now, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there can do better than this. I'm just exposing a little bit more than I need to and not reacting to the return shots as fast as I could have. But even then I'm getting these favorable trades just because of the agility of the quick draw and the low amount of exposure that I need in order to do my full alpha. The 2 torso LPLs are mounted high enough that I can shoot most targets that you see, so in this case, my arm LPL will probably hit the ramp, but the 2 torso lasers are able to clear the ramp and damage the Marauder up there. So put those 2 in a weapon group of its own in case you need to clear obstacles with some height. Now, my team is not in a really good position right now. As I said, the top is usually the best position on HPG because you force the other team to separate. Look at how separated we are right now. We're separated on the 4 line and on the sort of the left side here, as you can see. Even though we're in this terrible position, the enemy team is failing to take advantage. You can see that only one of them is looking at my direction, so they're not punishing us for being on low ground, and we're lucky in that they're not yet up like 4-1 or something like that. Part of the reason is I think they have a lot of Marauder 2s on their team, and the Marauder 2 has low slung arms such that they cannot peek over sides and shoot down without exposing a lot of surface area, so I think they're maybe a little bit reluctant to do that.
Alright, we're taking the top.
I am open CT, so I do have to be a little bit careful. There is a UAV up there I just saw, but I think I didn't see it during the match. I was focused more on where the enemies are, but so I didn't shoot it down.
Kilo CT.
Again, taking sort of a more ranged position here. Oh, this is a mistake here. I didn't mean to fall down, and that took me out of the game for like half a minute or something, and that wasn't good.
Shit, Juliet's gonna die. He gets close, we're dead.
Yeah, I didn't mean to drop down like that.
Metas torsos and CT is open. He shut down.
But it does give me a good position to find another angle where I'm not being looked at, and I can keep using just keep firing off my medium or large pulse salvos.
Damn, I wonder why I was getting shot. Everyone dropped down.
Okay, so I want to take the top, but I didn't have very much support there, so I need to find another angle. I'm not gonna take on 3 mechs by myself, especially with an open CT. So looking for another angle using the bottom to traverse to an angle where they're hopefully not looking at. They're hopefully looking at the Delta 5 area because that's where most of my team is. And you can see that agility and the speed really comes in here. The Excel engine gives you a little bit more speed than the LFE. So again, I think it's worth taking.
Go for the other guy. To your right.
You can see the enemy is indeed looking at the D5 area, which is where most of my team is. Get some good shots on that Vulcan.
Get the Marauder.
Rifleman's down.
The Vulcan was moving pretty well, so like I couldn't get clean shots on his leg. I'm gonna go for that right torso on the Hellfire, so he loses a bit of his cooling and some of his weapons.
Hellfire.
So open CT on that one, but I can't finish him off. So this guy opened his back to me. I see the Vulcan coming, so I have to get out of there. So even though he has one SRM6 left, I still need to try to finish him off. This is because when you finish off an enemy, yes, even though he's not that dangerous right now, he's still something that my team has to pay attention to and shoot at. So just getting rid of that one distraction is going to be helpful.
CT on hotel.
I take that last shot on the Marauder and I go down, but I think I've contributed enough to the match. There's only one guy left.
Hellfire's crit.
Soak the damage.
Nice.
Well, I hope you guys learned something for this video, and let me know what you do about NASCARs in the comment section below. As I said, the quick draw isn't the only option, and maybe you have a preferred way to win NASCARs that I didn't mention in this video. So if you liked it, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you next time.